Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, and welcome to Coaching Think Talk. I am Coach Maan from Life Coach Philippines, and this is coaching for a healthy mindspace. So, this coaching conversation is for individuals who are experiencing uncertainty and overwhelm in their lives because of some unhealthy and negative thoughts that they are battling in their minds. And it is my deep desire to help them break free from these thinking patterns so that they can have full and abundant lives as they journey their calling. And I'd like to thank you for joining me live this afternoon. Please leave your digital footprint by letting me know where you are watching me from. Also, don't forget to tag your family members, or some of your friends who might be interested to join in our conversation this afternoon. And also, feel free to share and circulate this video so that more individuals may benefit from what I will be sharing in our session. So, if you happen to, stumble through this video while you are scrolling through Facebook, again, still thank you for being here. We are streaming this live via the Facebook page of Life Coach Philippines and also in YouTube channel Coach AI Connect. So if this is your first time in these platforms or in our pages, I hope that you will be generous enough to like, subscribe, and follow our pages so that you would also be aware of the different things and activities we are doing here in Life Coach Philippines. So, I'd also like to take this time, of course, to introduce myself. Baka kasi first time nyo pa lang ako nakita. So, who am I? I am Coach Maan Lamorena, and I am a certified co-actively co-create life coach. I am also a certified mental toughness coach, and I am a scholar of the 6 steps to six-figure public speaking career training by Master Coach A. So, if you're like me, that you get fearful of speaking in public, whether it's a short speech or a long talk, regardless. If that is your fear and you feel that you have a story to share and you want to share that message to others, then I really would like to invite you to join the 5 Minute Talk Club. It's a Facebook community. It's a community by Master Coach A as well. And if you join this, of course, you'll have a grand time overcoming this fear of public speaking. And also, it will be an opportunity for you to master the 5 minute talk formula the fun way. So we actually do our matchups every Tuesday, but you can just join the group anytime, and you'll be able to connect with the different coach speakers in the group. So I hope that you'll be able to join us in this community. And also, I am a wife and a mother. I have a 4-year-old daughter. So when I'm not coaching, I'm also very much involved in my family life. And um, this is a Facebook community that I have created as well. It's called You Renewed. It's a coaching community where I share thoughts and ideas on how we can overcome the negative thought patterns in our mind. So if this is something that you are interested to know more of, or it's something that you are passionate about, then do join this group as well. And if you want to connect with me after this talk or whenever, you can reach me through my Facebook page. That's Coach Maan. So feel free to like and follow it as well. So for our conversation this afternoon, I would really like to invite you to please share your thoughts. You can do this by capturing the thoughts or whatever insights you may have throughout the conversation and sharing it in your timeline with these hashtags, hashtag pack my bag moment and hashtag coaching think talk, so that more people will be able to um, more people will be able to be enlightened, and you will also my message will also reach a lot more people who might not be able to watch this video currently. So before I start, I'd also like to acknowledge the people who are watching this afternoon. I know it's a rainy afternoon, and you're taking the time to be here. So thank you, thank you. Of course, my dear husband who's watching. It's really a, a, a fan, talaga fan, diba? Um, Thank you for being here. Anyway, last week we talked about last week I mentioned that this is actually a 3-week series about anxiety or about anxious emotions, and last week I shared about 4 common misconceptions about anxious emotions. And today, allow me to talk about, the kinds of self-talk that is causing our anxious emotions. So today is going to be about the connection between self-talk and anxiety. But before I begin, I'd like to um, ask this. You can just comment in the chat box if this is something that you've said to yourself, or if something similar you've been able to tell to yourself. So first, why am I such an idiot? Have you ever said that to yourself? Or have you ever thought of that to yourself? Or sometimes you say this, you know what? I don't even know why I tried. Or other times it could be this statement, you know, if only I was more confident, then I think I would be successful. Or it could be like this, I really shouldn't be so anxious all the time. And, you know, it's very common for us to say these statements or something similar because we all have an inner critic. And what is that? What's an inner critic? It's that voice inside our heads that usually tells us to doubt our skills, question our abilities, and even fear our emotions. And sometimes that inner voice can be helpful, especially when it's reminding us, when it's causing us to prepare or giving us self-awareness on where we are at the moment. But many times it can be harmful, especially when it speaks of something that is excessively negative for us. And it can really bring us down, it can lower our self esteem. And because the negative dialogue is only causing to increase the worry and fear in our minds, that in turn turns into anxious emotions. And you know why is that? It's because whatever we focus on expands. In other words, the more attention and negative self talk we give to a specific situation, the bigger and more worrisome the situation becomes in our minds. What we focus on expands. When we think about it incessantly, constantly, it becomes more worrisome. It becomes something bigger. It becomes something more challenging for us. And you know, that a lot of mental and emotional suffering comes from the way we talk to ourselves in our minds. It's really that dialogue that we have in our mind that's causing us a lot of this internal suffering, so to speak. And because it's the way we talk to ourselves habitually that determines how we feel habitually. You know, if you find yourself increasingly becoming more anxious, more unhappy, or discontented, especially after you hear or listen to your inner voice or your inner critic, then most likely there's a big chance that the problem lies in how you talk to yourself. And it's the one that's causing those negative emotions to come up and affect you and affect your life. But there's good news, of course. Because our negative self talk is usually a habit, it's possible to undo these patterns and to free ourselves from, the unhappiness, the anxiety, the worry that we bring to ourselves. And how do we do that? Of course, the first thing is to be aware what kind of dialogue or self dialogue am I speaking to myself? So that when you say it, you'll be able to catch it before you engage in that dialogue. So today I'll share with you the 5 most common negative self-talk scripts that we tell ourselves that only causes and heightens our anxiety. So, as we learn to recognize them and spot them in our lives, then it would be easier as we progress to be able to catch them and not engage in it and free ourselves from anxious thoughts and worrying anxious emotions and worrying thoughts. So I'd like to share with you what Robert Kiyosaki said, that it's not really what you say to everyone else that determines your life, but it's what you whisper to yourself that has the greater power. So let's begin. The first kind of self-talk, negative, that you tell yourself is when you judge your emotions. Diba sabi nga nila, judger daw. But, unfortunately, when we get into the habit of becoming judgmental about our emotions and feelings, we're just really setting up a no-win situation for ourselves. And we just end up feeling bad because we feel bad. And because we feel bad, after we feel bad, then it becomes a never ending cycle and chronic unhappiness and anxiety that we are in. So, an example of this would be us. Imagine this, imagine yourself saying this dialogue. You know what? I shouldn't really be anxious all the time. So, you're already judging your anxious emotions. Or one would be, you know, um, something is wrong. I shouldn't be so happy that I'm on vacation. Or another thought would be, why do I always feel down? Okay naman ako, kumakain naman ako. I should not really feel this way. So you're already judging these emotions that you have no control directly. And it doesn't really make any sense to judge them because you don't have any control of these emotions. Diba? So instead of judging your emotions, why don't you just stop telling yourself how you should feel and start accepting whatever feelings come along? So, for example, you felt anxious. There's nothing wrong with feeling anxious. It's just an emotion. You shouldn't have to judge yourself because you felt that. It's something that you felt. It's a fact for you, and that's okay. You don't even have to invalidate your emotion because really, it's the you don't have any control of that emotion. It's the thought that you have control of. But later we'll get to that part. So allow yourself to just feel the emotion. Don't judge it. Sometimes it can even be useful because it brings you to self awareness of what it is that is bothering you in your mind. So start accepting whatever feelings come along. And you may not like feeling bad. Of course, no one likes to feel bad, but it doesn't mean that it's bad to feel that way. It's okay to feel bad from time to time. It's always what you do with that emotion that is affecting you. So don't judge your emotions. Accept it. Welcome it. Now, the second kind of self talk that is really triggering our anxiety would be emotional reasoning. So, what is emotional reasoning? I looked it up, and online it says that emotional reasoning is when someone concludes that their emotional reaction to something defines or confirms their reality. So, an example of this would be you saying to yourself, you know what, it's really easier to work on that tough project when I feel inspired. Di ba? Minsan, naantay natin maging inspired bago tayo magtrabaho. Or, it's easier to really start that business when I have everything that I need to know. Hindi pa kasi ako prepared ngayon eh. So, kumpisahan ko na siya when I feel prepared. Or even in your simple workouts. It's easier to hit the gym when I feel energized and motivated. But the thing is, when we get into the habit of telling ourselves that we have to feel a certain way in order to do something challenging, we are setting ourselves up to be anxious and have lower self-esteem because most often than not, we're not always going to feel good. And if we're just going to base our actions on our emotions, then we'd probably end up nowhere. Because the basis of our motivation is on something that is not constant. Diba? So we're not always going to feel good. And if we wait around to take action until we feel good, then we won't be doing anything much. I mean, just think of the people who are successful. Let's say Michael Jordan. Just imagine if Michael Jordan said that, you know what, I'm just gonna train my free throws or my 3-point shots when I feel like it. Athletes, there are days when they don't feel motivated to train, but something is there's something, there's a purpose, there's a mission that's greater than their emotions that's pushing them to do that. Or for the business, right? There are days when you wouldn't feel like doing the admin stuff to what you need to do, but you have to get over that emotions and just do it. And there is actually there is a relationship between feeling and action. Yes, it feels good to take action when you feel like it. Obviously, because you feel like it. Then, of course, when you do it. But there are times also when you take action and it leads to you feeling good. And many times that's what happened. I remember a friend of mine, she's not really into working out. And there are days when she just feels so tired and lazy. And then she gave, she have this 5-minute rule that she has to do it for at least 5 minutes. And if she really doesn't feel like doing it after 5 minutes, then she can stop. But she told me that oftentimes when she starts with that 5-minute rule, before she gets to that 5 minutes, she's already feeling it. She wants to continue because her action was not motivated by her emotions. And it's always possible to really take action even when you don't feel like it. And it's the only way that meaningful things actually happen. It's only when insightful things really come to life because there's a deeper motivation. It's not just your emotions. So you'll never get there if you keep telling yourself that you can only do things when you feel like it. So don't allow your emotions to be your reason in whatever you do. Don't allow that. That will only cause you more anxious emotions in your life. And as I've said, having the habit of telling yourself that you have to feel a certain way in order to do something challenging only exacerbates your anxious emotions. Do it even when you don't feel like it and allow yourself to get through the motions of things, and it will bring you to where you want to go. Third thing is self-labeling. This one, I think all of us are guilty of this. Because oftentimes we try to categorize ourselves into something, especially when we've made a mistake, right? And what example of self-labeling are statements like this. I'm such an idiot. Or why am I such a failure? Or you know what? I'm so bad. No wonder people don't ever stay. I'm unlovable, those things, those thoughts. And when you really think about it, whenever we say those things, we are not really those things that we say we are. Yes, we may feel an idiot at times, especially when we are surrounded by people who are, who can be a bit intimidating when it comes to intelligence. Or there were times, yes, that we've made a mistake and we've failed, but it doesn't mean that we are a failure. That was just one time. It was just a mistake. It was a failure, but we are not. And there are times also when, yeah, we feel unlovable, but it doesn't mean that we are unlovable. That was just a second, a millisecond, a moment that we felt. And it's very easy for us to categorize ourselves with what we are feeling, even when it is not accurate. Because most often than not, it is not accurate. We like to make, sweeping generalizations. It's easy eh. Diba? It's easy then to quantify. You cannot say naman, you know what, today I feel like just a teeny tiny bit idiotic. Or, you know what, kahapon I feel semi-unlovable. Diba wala? Usually, it's just, ano yan eh, 0 or 100%. So kaya sometimes we really tend to label ourselves and make generalizations about ourselves. And because we focus on this generalization, even when it is not accurate, it expands. Again, what we focus on expands. And eventually, It is what we are going to feel, and eventually, again, it is what we are going to believe about ourselves. So, how do we address this? What we need to do is to stop categorizing ourselves. Drop the habit of labeling yourself. Don't say that you're this or that, and stop allowing ourselves to be defined by one moment or by our emotions. Because again, it's inconsistent. It's not the truth. What you're feeling now, your emotion now may not be your emotion a few minutes after. So it would be futile to define yourself by that moment. You know, you are so much more than that. And labeling yourself will only create anxious feelings and negative thought patterns. That soon enough, as you continue to repeat to yourself over and over and over, you start believing it, even when it's not true. And it will affect how you live your life. So drop that habit of labeling yourself. And you'll start to feel more and more comfortable. Be exactly who you are. Don't label yourself. The next thing, then this is also something very common for us all. This kind of self-talk. Um, it's making assumptions, or for others they call it mind reading. Because sometimes, especially when we are talking to someone that we love, that we care, um, we have this tendency to think that as much as we know someone, their thoughts and emotions running through their, you know, the thoughts and emotions running through their minds are something that we can really fully grasp. But we can't. We don't. We never could. Diba? Any given time that that they say something, kahit pinaka-close natin yan, even our spouses, diba? We could never really have that meaningful degree of accuracy of thinking what is going through their minds or the emotions that they are feeling. But the thing with us is that when things aren't going well, our brain tends to assume the worst and we catastrophize, we worry, and especially for women, for the emotional women, or even just emotional men also, we think the world is coming to an end because we're making all these assumptions in our minds, in our heads. And we combine that to the habit of telling ourselves that we know what people are thinking and feeling. And we're really going to believe that everyone thinks the worst about us all the time. Such a bad combination, di ba? But we do that nevertheless. So how do we address that? Instead of guessing, making assumptions about what other people are asking or thinking about you, why don't we ask them? 'Di ba? Minsan ang dami na nating naisip, sobrang grabe na yung palpitations natin, di na tayo makatulog, nag-insomnia ka na, nangasim na yung tiyan mo because you're so anxious that they're thinking of you this way. But really, when you ask them, you realize, ay, ang layo pala. Layo pala na iniisip niya sa iniisip ko. 'Di ba? So instead of mind reading and making assumptions, ask. Ask so that the dialogue in your mind, will be accurate and it would lessen the anxiety that you're feeling. I understand that it takes some courage to speak up and be assertive, of course. But in the end, it will really be more beneficial for us because we'll be more, calmer, we will become more confident. And yes, there would be less anxiety because the fears that we imagine in our minds, the insecurities that bubbled up in our emotions and in our thoughts, there, we get the actual fact about it and it doesn't bother us that much. So instead of making assumptions and trying to read minds, ask. And that's a kind of, that's really a kind of negative self-talk that we should not, we should really discontinue. I mean, all of these that I'm mentioning, we should. But especially with this one, because it's so much easier to just ask. And last but not least, this is what we call fortune telling. So, di ba kanina we have the making assumptions and mind reading. Ito naman, para rin tong, related to that because sometimes we think we can look into the future and just guess what's going to happen based on what we are experiencing right now. But sadly, no one has ever been able to do that. And it isn't really possible to see into the future and know for sure how things are going to turn out. I'm not discounting that there may be some patterns you see in the present that could affect the future. Yes, that matters. But the idea in our minds that we know exactly what's going to happen and we are already, worrying about it in the present, that's causing our emotions, that our anxious emotions. And, you know, um, usually this dialogues like these sound like this. I'll never get promoted. I'll never be good enough. Um, no one will ever love me or marry me. And I'll never be charming enough or I'll never amount to something. You've already, you know, you've already assumed and gines mo na what your future will hold. And the thing with this is that if we are constantly predicting that our future is going to be bleak, it's going to be a disaster, then definitely we should not be surprised that our present emotion is a disaster as well. That the anxiety level in our present moment is, sky high. Because naiisip mo na na dun, 'di ba? Naisip mo na dun ka pupunta. So obviously, ano ka na, ngarag ka na ngayon. Kasi, 'di ba? Parang ang dating, no matter what you do in the present moment, it's good your future is still gonna be like that. Because gines mo eh. And that's why we have to stop doing it. You know, when we constantly analyze our anxious feelings in the present and think that they are bad, then the more that we start to feel bad every time we get anxious over anything at all. And the thing is, while yes, thinking about the future is having enough foresight and insight, it's actually our actions and habits in the present that is going to determine how we feel right now and even in our future. So, if you want to feel less worried about the future and you want to be more optimistic about your life, then stop the habit of predicting the future. Simple as that. Drop that habit and focus on what is within your control. And what is that? The present moment. Remind yourself that as much as, hopeless and bleak and helpless things in the current may seem, nobody really knows the future, which means that the possibilities for you in your future is probably bigger, better, and brighter than you actually think, especially if you focus on the present, especially if you focus on what you can do in the present and you don't allow your anxious emotions get the best of you. You know? So it's really getting a handle on the way we talk to ourselves that will affect how we will be able to overcome the anxious emotions that we get. How we habitually talk to ourselves determines how we habitually feel. And this means that if we want to let go of these anxious feelings and we want to be more confident, then we really need to unlearn these negative self talk scripts that I've mentioned earlier. And we have to replace them with something that is positive. You know, as we start to recognize these kinds of negative self talk that trigger our anxious emotions, such as judging your emotion, emotional reasoning, self labeling, making assumptions or mind reading, and even fortune telling, then we'll be able to get a handle of the things that are causing us anxiety and be able to have full and abundant lives even in the present. Of course, Some people have a lifelong habit of seeing the bad in everything. I used to be like that too. And while some may be justifying it, in saying that they are being realistic, again, as I mentioned earlier, sometimes the inner critic that we have, it has its benefits, especially if it's reminding us to prepare, to be self-aware, diba? But most often than not, this kind of negative self-talk is just really allowing us to mentally sabotage ourselves. We are the one who is ultimately in control of our thoughts that cause our emotions because we are the source of these thoughts. And when we learn to consciously choose to replace these negative thoughts with positive ones, then we are in a better position to make our lives better and free from anxiety. If you're still a bit confused as to how you can do it, I'd like to end with this quote from Brené Brown. When she said this, it truly encapsulates how how we can talk to ourselves. She said that you talk to yourself like you would to someone you love. And I agree. When everything else is said and done, talk to yourself like you would someone you love. You would not berate. You would not put down someone that you love. You'd say loving words, encouraging them, inspiring. And we can all do that to ourselves. We can all allow ourselves to feel this love with the words that we use in our self-dialogue, in our, internal narrative. Talk to yourself like you would someone you love. And it would do wonders. See how it can help you replace some of the negative thoughts that you have with positive ones. Just talk to yourself like you would to someone you love. And now I'd like to invite you that if you feel, you're ready to go deeper in conquering those self-doubts and other negative thought patterns that's causing your anxious emotions, and you're saying that you want to transform your life, then I invite you to my 6-week coaching program, Courageous Living by Design, which is happening this October. It is a 6-week journey where we will look at practical strategies to help you become more resilient and cope better with the challenges you are facing. It will really help you have a positive outlook in your life, especially when it comes to dealing with all this negativity surrounding you. So the sessions will be done online via Zoom, and I'd really like to invite you to be part of this, especially if you've tried before, try doing it on your own, and it's so much harder when you're alone in the journey, right? But when you have someone to encourage you and to support you and guide you like a coach, then things can be better. So with this journey, the change may not happen overnight, but you can now make the decision to take a step and move from where you are currently to where you want to be. So I hope that, I'll see you this October. Do send me a message after this talk, and I'll help you. And I'd also like to invite you to join the Be Learning Society. This is the tent maker of the Be Learning Homes for Mental Fitness through the Be Learning e-card. And you'll enjoy 5% food and beverage discount. You'll also have a full access to the free mental model masterclass happening every third Saturday of the month. This is by Master Coach A, and a free 90-minute coaching session with senior coaches from Life Coach Philippines. So I really hope that you won't miss out the perks that we are enjoying today. So register, contact Coach Rizal after this conversation, 0917-586-1661, so that she'll help you how you can join and be part of the Be Learning Society. And this September 18 at 7 p.m., our next Mental Model Masterclass is the Multiplier Skills Mental Model Mastery. So I hope that I'll see you there. Yes, happening this Saturday. And also, for individuals who intend to embark on a journey of becoming a certified life coach. Master Coaching is now offering the co-actively co-create life coach certification program. It's comprehensive, and it will really help you to learn and master life coaching personally for your life and also as a form of profession. And this includes a 21-day web-based learning sessions. There's a 3-day live coaching boot camp with master coaching, of course, and another 3-day live business boot camp with the senior coaching team of Life Coach Philippines. So aside from that, there are also other bonuses that comes with the package. So if this is something that you want to know more of, you want to discover the opportunities that comes in the profession of life coaching, then really, I encourage you, contact Coach Rizel right after this video and register already for the next certification schedule. So I hope to see you again next Monday for the third and last installment of my anxiety series. And do join us for another coaching conversation at 4 p.m. with Coach Tin for Coaching for Relationship. And once again, this is Coach Maan from Life Coach Philippines for Coaching Think Talk. Coaches like us think and talk like this. This is us from the Philippines. Love Bamboo. Thank you and see you. Bye.